Welcome to the Wilmac Wire. I'm Emily Miller, joined by my co-host, Steve McDonnell. On this show, we talk with the drivers, the leaders, innovators, and decision makers pushing customer interaction technology and AI forward. And because we're proud to call Western New York home, we also spotlight the drivers in our own community, the people and organizations shaping growth and innovation right here. Let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Wilmac Wire. I've got a great conversation to share with you today with Steve, my co-host, myself, and Wilmac's new VP of Sales, Chad Familant. Chad was a great sport. I'll be honest with you. This is his third week when we're recording. Week one, we had our fiscal year kickoff where he and everyone came into town and he met a ton of new people. Week two, he started to get the lay of the land a little bit more. And now week three, I said, Chad, you're going to be a guest on the Wilmac Wire. And he was a great sport about it and jumped right in. No complaints whatsoever. So Steve and I asked him some really tough questions today. We talked through how he got into the contact center industry, how he's seen the industry evolve when it comes to CCaaS and AI, and where he sees that going and where Wilmac plays a role. We even talked about sales advice that he's gotten as both an individual contributor and as a sales leader. And he made it very clear. It always goes back to solving customer pain points by listening. Listen, listen, listen. That was his main message. So I enjoyed listening to this episode myself, being a part of it. But really, thanks for tuning in. I think I officially consider you all part of the Wilmac pack now, that you've stuck with us this far, the end of season 2. This is a great conversation for the second last episode of season 2 in 2025. So I hope you enjoy. All right, we are live on the Wilmac Wire. I'm excited to introduce our guest today, one of Wilmac's own. And Chad, like I said, I'm going to do a little bit of a sports intro for you, so bear with me. Okay, so coming in at 6 feet tall from Washington, D.C., with over 20 years of experience in the contact center space, spending over 12 years rising through the sales ranks at 5'9", and now the Vice President of Sales at Wilmac Technologies. Welcome to the Wilmac Wire, Chad Familant.
Well, thank you so much, Emily. I'm thrilled to be here. My first Wilmac Wire. I'm pumped. Thanks for having me.
We're pumped to have you. I like we usually talk about, right into the fire hose. That's what we're doing. Right on the Wilmac Wire. You're a guest. This is your third weekend now. So we're gonna jump right into it. And like I mentioned, you've just come on board as our Vice President of Sales. Really, what attracted you to Wilmac at this stage in your career?
Yeah, no, thanks for that question. I think I've been here for a little over 2 weeks, as you mentioned. So what attracted me? I think it was like the first conversation I had with Steve, and two things jumped out at me immediately, which was the mission and the timing, right? Right place, right time, right vision. So when I was working at Five9, I could see that a lot of the contact centers that we were working with, especially the ones that were highly regulated, they were under a ton of pressure all the time. So think things like compliance, audits, data retention, especially with a lot of focus on AI enablement. And so I really felt like Wilmac sits at the right intersection for all of that. And, many, if not most of the contact centers that I worked with, they all utilize best of breed WEM providers, all of whom would lock down the recordings of their platform. So as I was talking through all of this with Steve, I realized that we had a great opportunity here because Wilmac really solves a problem that no one else really solves. We help organizations own their customer interaction data and not be locked down to proprietary platforms. Then, as I got to meet more of the leadership team like you, Emily, culturally, I really felt the energy right away. So a leadership team that's aligned, transparent, and genuinely committed to building something bigger. And, with all the changes that we're dealing with this industry, the never-ending changes on the horizon, if you will, with everything going on with AI, these were a lot of the key attributes that I was looking for my next chapter.
Awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like a bit of a combination of market position and culture. Like we've talked often now since you started about how we like to focus on that challenge first and then build from there. And especially with our dev team and what Bob and his team are doing, I think that intersects very well. So yeah, we're happy to have you here. I'll probably say that multiple times, both on the podcast and at Wilmac. But you mentioned too, like this is your third week. This is week three. We had our fiscal year kickoff, your first week. How was that? What was your favorite part of it? How did it feel?
It was great. Look, what a perfect way to start, right? My first week at Wilmac, I'm on site. It's your sales kickoff. Kudos for whoever figured that out to coordinate it that way. That was perfect. Got to meet everybody that was coming in from all over the country, put faces to names, have great conversations. And, what I loved was every conversation was tied back to customers. How do we help them? How do we reduce their risk? How do we improve compliance? How do we unlock value from recordings they haven't touched in years, which is just a gold mine of data, right? I think my favorite part was really just, seeing how connected all the teams were. You have product there, engineering, sales, marketing. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. I think that was everybody. And it's not very common to walk into a company and see that level of alignment with all these different departments, especially in a growth stage company like Wilmac. So that was fantastic. And of course, I love the energy. Everyone there, they all have this feeling that we're on the cusp of something really big, that we're about to capture lightning in a bottle. And that's fantastic.
Yeah, and Emily spoke to fire hose. Obviously, between that and now this, information's coming at you quite quickly. Diving into all the deals and whatnot the past couple of weeks has been exciting. And obviously learning about everything. What's been your biggest surprise? And again, I know that first week was just a ton of information thrown at you. But what's been your biggest surprise so far?
Well, my biggest surprise probably is that, honestly, the product's even better than what I thought it was going to be. It's even stronger than I realized from the outside. And so, to your point, Steve, as I'm starting to speak to customers and get introduced to them and hear and see the feedback about Replay, I can really see how much our customers really enjoy this product. And to be able to see the strong demand for the new WFM product that we just launched for the emergency services and to see the overwhelming response from it, I think it's just fantastic and very exciting.
Yeah, and for our listeners, this was not your typical sales kickoff or SKO. This was an actual like annual kickoff. So we did have everybody come in from all the departments, which was good timing. Just pure luck that happened with Chad's first week, but it was awesome timing, and I think we had a lot of energy and kind of everyone getting aligned with where the vision is. So perfect timing with that, and couldn't have been happier that you're able to make that work.
Same here.
Definitely. And I think, Chad, too, you talked about it a little bit from the sales perspective in terms of enablement, learning about the challenges. Continuity WFM, we had a panel discussion on. Steve talked often about the vision and where continuity replay and continuity WFM fit. But like Steve mentioned too, every team in the organization was there, from accounting to services and operations to the engineering to marketing and sales. So everyone we're trying to empower with that knowledge and be on the lookout for those customers that are facing those challenges that they might not even realize we have a solution for. So yeah, fire hose first week for sure. Hopefully that's lessened a little bit, but not too much. We want to keep that momentum rolling, as Steve likes to say. But as like rounding out this conversation about joining Wilmac, what's been your first impression of it so far?
Yeah, well, I think first impression, as I mentioned, the product, the foundation of it, even stronger and better than I anticipated, which is great. The team, incredibly sharp, but also really collaborative, which I think is fantastic. A lot of humility there, right? Which I appreciate and respect, but it's really paired, with a hunger that I appreciate. So I love that. And then of course, we talked about the demand, the market for the product it's clear. Every regulated company is thinking about data governance and AI readiness. And I really think that Wilmac is perfectly positioned for this.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Talking about it 3 weeks in. I'm looking forward to hosting an episode with you in like a year and asking you the same exact
Yeah.
question.
Me too.
Putting him on the spot 3 weeks in.
Yeah, big time. I was about to
When,
say I
yeah, guys.
and I asked him about this, I think Monday last week, so he was just comprehending the kickoff, and I was like, "So, do you want to be on our podcast?" But anyway, moving off the topic of Wilmac and kind of your first few weeks here, Chad, I want to dive more into you, your career journey, your experience in the industry. Can you talk us through more of your career journey, please?
Yeah, sure. My journey, my long strange trip, you bet. Um, well, I mean, I'll take us back to the beginning. So I started off in outside sales, going door to door and cold calling businesses to sell them wireless phones and services. So this all happened in the analog to digital conversion with the cell phone industry. You know, if you're old enough, remember the Ericssons and the Nokias. It was all during that time in the late 90s. And so the owner of the dealership, he ended up building an online company in the heart of the dot-com era to massively scale this business, which of course required a contact center, right? So I used this opportunity to learn how to administer the contact center technology. I got a free education on IVR, ACD, dialer campaign creation, administration, and got to work with telephony providers, managing circuits and PBX, LD usage, all that stuff. But I quickly gravitated towards the business side, designing and scaling inside sales teams and programs, customer experience and contact center transformation eventually. But this included working with our own internal contact centers, managing our inside sales teams and BPOs around the world, and it gave me firsthand experience on how contact centers are run. And the day-to-day life of an agent or the supervisor and the directors and the outsourcers and the needs of the customer and of course the metrics that drive the operations, right? When I got to 5.9, I got to be part of a rocket ship, right? Just perfect timing, incredible space to be a part of at that time. It continues to be a fantastic space. And when I was there, I was helping large enterprises primarily move from legacy on-prem systems to the cloud. And then, in the past few years, we've been hyper-focused, obviously, on continuing that effort, but also getting everybody ready and employing and deploying AI. So during that time, I was very lucky that I could use my prior real-world contact center experience and apply it to leveraging 5.9's powerful platform to solve customer challenges. So my background, it provided me an incredible amount of empathy for what our customers do, and it still does. And I couldn't be more grateful for the time that I spent at 5.9, the mentors, the colleagues, and the customers I had the pleasure of working with and helping and learning from each day. And now I want to take those learnings and I want to help Wilmac continue to scale and continue to help customers navigate, all the changes that we're seeing in this rapidly evolving landscape we now have with the AI boom.
Yeah, definitely. And so you mentioned it a little bit, but really like the contact center world kind of fell into your lap. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. So it really just kind of evolved from, like you said, the starting in the technology area, the dot-com boom, getting into it, and then it just kept progressing. Did you find yourself more interested in the technology sales side, or can you speak more to that?
Yeah, well, Emily, I think the running joke is that no one ever grows up saying they want to, be in the contact center industry when they grow up, right?
Hmm.
We all just sort of fall into it one way or the other. But then many of us, as we do that, we realize how massively relevant and important this industry is. I mean, especially since COVID, the contact center has been the front door to most operations, and it's where brands can show who they really are. And there's arguably few, if really no other industry that impacts us more. So all of us use them. Many of us daily, many of us several times a day, and oftentimes we're enduring them, right? You can't really get away from it. And the funny thing is when people ask me what I do and they realize that I sell the technology behind the contact centers, they'll often groan and go, "Oh God, yeah, I hate that experience so much." And when they do that, it really gives me great pride to be able to smile and reply back to them and say, I'm part of the team that's selling the products to not only make it better for you as a customer, but for the people that have to use it all day as part of their job and the ones that you have to interact with, right? Because, when happy frontline supervisors and happy agents, usually translates into happy customers, right? So we're really making everyone's experience better end to end. And I'll give them examples, of how we do it, and they'll smile and they'll say, "Oh, well, thank God, that's just what we need." But they're passionate about that because like all of us, we all use it and we live it every day, right? And so when you realize that what you're doing, it touches everyone, and everyone values its continuous improvement, then this not only signals that the impact of what we do, but it also gives us a clear indicator that we're part of something important and we're in the right space, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you talk to someone and you tell them what we do. They always gravitate to all the awful experiences they've had. Um, and even with all the great technologies, there's just so much more to do better. But people tend not to forget the nice, smooth, seamless experiences they have.
No doubt. And, and not to mention the improvements that they're seeing. You can tell when you call into a contact center right away if it's outdated technology or not, right? All you have to hear is, "Thank you for calling. Please listen to the following options because our menu has recently changed." And you immediately go, "Oh God, this is going to be a long, miserable process," right? But as soon as you call in and they say, "Hey, Emily, thanks again for calling. I assume you're calling about this again. Can we go ahead and do this for you to solve your problem?" You immediately perk up and realize these people get it. They're investing in the right technology. This might be a quick and easy call. We can get this done. And, those are just some of the things that we're focused on, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, in during your tenure at Five9, you witnessed the industry shift pretty substantially. Like you said, when you came into Five9, it was a bit of a rocket ship. I looked up like some stats from around that time in 2013, but Five9 had just been recognized on lists like Deloitte Technologies Fast 500, and they were just hit like $84 million in revenue. What?
They were not public yet, right?
No, they were still
We're
private.
not. No.
Yeah, so you experienced quite a bit of change over that tenure. What changes do you think stood out the most to you?
Well, starting at the beginning, when I first joined, what we were focused on was just migrating customers from legacy on-premise systems and getting them into the cloud, which is hugely transformative, and it still is today. There's still a massive market out there of companies that are still using on-premise that have not yet migrated to the cloud. But even when I was doing the interview process with Five9 and they were demoing the Five9 product, I was coming from a company that was using legacy on-premise contact center systems. So when I got to see, what they could do with this technology, this point and click, drag and drop functionality that was very powerful and quickly to be able to execute on changes and be able to do it from anywhere, I was blown away, right? So, when you shift from, on-prem to CCaaS, it's transformative. And customers instantly recognize how much faster they can innovate and how much they can scale globally. And when I was selling Five9 to these on-prem customers and migrating them to the cloud, I would tell them things like, now you can run and manage your contact center anywhere in the world where there's a reasonable internet connection. And today that sounds quite obvious, but over 10 years ago, it really wasn't. And so once you can do that and you have this ability to create and design in the system that's so much easier than it was before, then suddenly, things can happen like you can free up your IT resources and you can pass a lot of things down to the business. And this is really great for both of those units, business units and the IT unit, because it really allows you to free up IT from doing a lot of mundane tasks, right? Things like opening up a ticket to change a schedule or opening up a ticket with IT to move one agent from one queue to another. And when you free them up from having to do those things, they can go work on much more strategic things, right? And then by allowing the business to take on those tasks, it gives them a lot more velocity and a lot more business continuity to get things done on their own. So, that was the first thing that I was able to experience is, that massive adoption of moving from on-prem to cloud and moving at a much greater velocity and flexibility. The next thing that I got to experience,
Chad,
yeah,
not to
sure, of
interrupt you.
course.
When for our listeners, this is back in 2013.
Yep.
So a lot of listeners know we have had a partnership with NICE forever. NICE didn't even acquire in contact till 2016 or 2017, and really didn't start bringing them into the fold until 2018. So this is 5 years before that. What types of customers were you getting to commit to the cloud? It was still, a lot of compliance issues. Not everyone was ready full force. I'm good to go up to the cloud. What kind of customers was Five9 being able to attract at that point?
Yeah, no, great question. Needless to say, we were not signing any top global banks to Five9 at that point, but they are certainly there now. No, you're right. There was a lot of growth that still needed to happen, a lot of compliance that still had to be put in place. But I do remember a lot of retail customers, some travel customers, some technology customers as well. Now, I think back then, in 2013, a 200-seat contact center was a pretty significant size for a company like Five9 to sign.
That's interesting. And now Five9's handling the largest contact centers in the world.
The largest in the world. That's right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that is,
so
yeah,
I,
keep
I,
going.
I messed up his mojo there as he was about to lay out the second shift he witnessed.
Yeah, no doubt. And that now that you mentioned that piece, I would add to the list the evolution of compliance and backbone and infrastructure that we were able to grow, over that decade that would allow us to attract, heavily regulated companies. So that was a really important point to bring up, Steve. I appreciate you doing that. I would say just sequentially, what I noticed, once we just moved from straight cloud migration, what quickly came into focus was digital really took off, right? So it was called multi-channel there at first. You had email, chat, SMS, and social, and then basically overnight it became omni-channel. Really forcing companies to rethink, their CX and agent experiences end to end there. So that was a really interesting time as well. And then, fast forward to a few years ago, and obviously AI has really just been a monster of a game changer. And bots, sure, but not just bots. Now we also have agent assist applications, the transcriptions, the summarization, and all the real-time analytics that comes with that. Automated quality management, forecasting. It's really changing everything inside the contact center industry. And then, of course, with AI now also comes compliance and data governance at front and center, especially for our regulated industries.
So you talked about AI a little bit now there on the tail end as something that was a substantial shift and it still is. We're in the midst of a substantial shift with it. I'm pretty sure every CCaaS company, everything that they sell now is AI powered, and so I'm curious if the AI driven kind of CX movement, has that changed how you approach sales at all? And if so, how?
Yeah, of course. Look, there's a mad rush for AI adoption, which is great. But I think you'll hear more and more people in the industry trumpet the fact that as excited as everybody should be about AI, first, as the people that are developing the AI products and selling the AI products, we need to be responsible and we need to advise our customers first to think about the data and the governance. Okay. That way we can ensure the proper performance of AI. Otherwise, it's just garbage in, garbage out, right? So this is actually a great entry point for Wilmac because you can't deliver meaningful AI outcomes if your data is locked away in some proprietary platforms or stored in formats you can't use, right? So before the conversations about how do we use AI, the mindset is how do we get our customers AI ready? So at Wilmac, that's exactly what we're solving for, right? We're helping customers unlock decades of recordings, centralize them, standardize them, and make them usable and securely in a compliant way. So I would say in many ways, AI has even elevated the importance of what Wilmac does, and I'm grateful to now have Wilmac as part of my sales process.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that. I don't know who we had on, but we had a deep dive into there is many companies out there that even if they wanted to jump into AI, they don't have the infrastructure or the access to their data to even start at square one. Especially, I think it must have been a Rochester person, Emily, because you look at the more localized, smaller cities. Not everyone has even moved up to CCAS, let alone figuring out their voice recording and data. A lot of people are still using on-prem solutions, which we've been surprised at. But obviously, with your past, you're not that surprised that there's still plenty of on-prem customers needing to move up to CCAS, and then hopefully they begin to look into AI. But are you when you say they're not ready, and obviously you're leaning towards the voice recordings, that's so key to us. Do you think there's plenty of on-prem customers as well that still need to get the evolution to CCAS and then start accessing and utilizing AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you say that I'm not surprised that there's a ton of companies that haven't migrated to CCAS. That's not exactly accurate. I'm aware that there's a ton of companies that haven't migrated, but I'm still surprised that they haven't done it. And yeah, to your point, it's going to, help them dramatically to be able to leverage AI because the integration points that allow you to integrate with all these various applications and to be able to mine the data to feed the models is infinitely easier, once you're on a cloud environment.
Yep. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, and Steve, that has been like the theme of a lot of our conversations with the analysts in the industry, the Dave Michaels, the John
Yeah.
Arnolds. Like a lot of them talk about the fact that a lot of organizations just don't have the infrastructure yet, and they're getting pushes from leadership to pursue AI in their initiatives, and a lot of the vendors out there like Wilmac are like, I don't know if you're ready yet. Have you considered the data piece of it? So yeah, those have been eye-opening conversations for sure. But we're talking a little bit. We talked about the past. We just talked more about the present. You've been in the industry now, Chad, for a good chunk of years. We consider you an SME in it. You definitely are an SME in it. What are some of the things that you could see happening in the space over the course of the next year, the next few years? Like, how do you see it changing?
Well, I mean, I think it's already in process, right? But I see things like, AI, QAing itself on a regular basis, which I think will be fantastic. I think we've already seen where it's going to have the ability to onboard things and implement things faster because you're not going to need hands-on keyboards to build certain things out. The AI can automatically build things for you. So we're going to see a lot of streamlining optimization there. I think that we're going to be talking to our AI a lot more. So instead of having to type all these things up to go find certain things and insights within the contact center, we can certainly ask, hey, I see that the abandon rate's at 10% today. Why? Right? And just get the answers back and transcribe and summarize for you so that you can disseminate the information, but you can quickly learn it and take action, much faster. So those are things that I see immediately happening and probably already starting to.
Yeah, and we had Bob on our last episode, and he was speaking about Wilmac's continuity WFM, and one of the first things he's built with that is let's build an AI bot to be able to implement and train.
That's
Let's
right.
get that out. Let's before we even really build a complete platform, he was building that. So obviously, we're seeing it in real life as well, which is great.
Yeah, and just as a quick tangent, we had on Kevin Serace. He's like known as the father of the virtual assistant, essentially. And he asked me the day before I interviewed him to interview his AI video version of himself. So I literally like logged on and chatted with him, but it wasn't him. And like he provided I could have recorded the podcast with him, honestly, and no one would have known.
No one would have
It's
known.
wild.
Well,
It's
do me a favor, Emily. Don't tell anybody that this is actually the AI video of me.
oh no, it's aware of itself. Um, yeah, it's really impressive to see how things are evolving with it. How like Steve, Bob, Chad, I know you are employing your teams to figure out ways to use it and be efficient with it, so we can scale and improve our workflows to get to that next level. So it's really exciting. Thanks for taking a good stab at what you think it looks like. That's a super hard question. I was expecting pushback on that one. gonna lie.
It's just a stat, but
Yeah.
I think that's honestly, I think that's low hanging fruit. I think that's inevitable. I'm sure that there's much more visionary things that'll be happening than that.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to be a part of that at Wilmac. So, all right, steering a little bit away from the technology contact center space side of things, and going more into your leadership and your mentorship. So you've managed and mentored many sales professionals, but you've also been an individual contributor, like you said. What do you think is the best piece of advice that you've gotten in your career?
Wow, that's a big one, Emily. I'm gonna have to think about that one for a second. The best piece of advice that I've gotten in my career. Wow. Um, Listen, right? It's probably, one of the biggest ones, that goes a long way. If you're not listening to your team and listening to your customers, how do you know what to solve for, right? So listen to your customers, support your team, be there for them, be engaged, be active, and stay true to yourself and what you're trying to accomplish. That's the best advice I got.
That was a heavy question.
Saved it for
I,
the
I,
end.
I'll come out with something a little easier.
You can tell these questions weren't prepped, right?
So you've managed many teams, went through one of the things that right off the bat was really attractive from us about you was the fact that you were at a pre-IPO company, saw it when it was a smaller type company, grinding it out all the way to where it is now, and you were in different stages and different roles there. But have you learned, is there anything that you've made you have a certain style on how you manage and how you act with your sales reps that you could kind of share with us?
Well, I mean, I think part of it comes from I was one, right? So I started off as an individual contributor. So, just like I had, real world experience working within the contact center industry and had a lot of empathy for what they do all day. For 4 years, I was an individual contributor selling net new SaaS for Five9. So I had a lot of empathy for what my team has to do. I also had the unique experience of starting off with a company pre-IPO where there was zero process and everything was done without a whole lot of um, you know infrastructure, if you will, and there wasn't a whole lot of stuff available, and we all just had to go get it done and get it done fast. So I was able to learn how to work in that environment and that velocity, and then as we continue to grow and grew to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands more people that many I didn't even have the opportunity to meet. We had all of these processes and all these organizations supporting us through all these multiple complex sales process. So I really got to have the best of both worlds and learning how to operate, both in smaller mid-market segments and enterprise segments and strategic segments, as well as startup mentality, just a few hundred people working there at most to, thousands of people working all across the world with tons of process and tons of infrastructure to support that type of environment. So that really helped me be able to be much more agile and nimble, no matter what environment I was going to go work for next. And it certainly helps me here too, I believe, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are probably, as you were saying that, Em was probably thinking the same thing. At our size and what we're trying to do, we're definitely all about velocity and may
Hmm.
not be the most processed as we are. We're trying though, as Em would
That's okay.
share.
Look, there's a price for everything, right? And so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
lot of benefits to just being nimble, quick, and fast with not a whole lot of red tape. And there's a lot of things that red tape offers you and benefits that do come with it. You just got to learn how to leverage either or both.
Yeah, gotta love process, like Steve said. We're working on it. Listen, like you said, we have to act fast. We have to act on our momentum. And as we navigate this path of scaling, like that's when we start to figure out the processes. Like we just got to keep riding that wave and pushing, and grind. I always say, like I played sports. I come in every day and I say it's game day because I'm like ready to grind.
Game on.
So game on, exactly. So, all right, Chad. Steve left you, I guess, with an easy one. That's fine. Whatever. But
Easy.
no, none of these have been easy. You've been doing great, Chad. Um,
It's
quick last two questions. First one is, what excites you most about being here during the next chapter at Wilmac?
Oh gosh, like I said, right place, right time, high growth mindset, right vision. There's so much more that we can still do, right? There's so
Hmm.
much more AI that we can democratize into our platform. There's so many more markets that we haven't tapped yet. And It's just a really exciting time to be here. And with the new products that you just launched, along with the evolution that, and I've seen, I don't think everybody, the public hasn't seen yet, but I've seen the amazing things that we've done to develop the replay product that we're going to be able to roll out soon. I'm very excited about that. And just, the expansion of the total addressable market that it's going to allow us to go after is just going to be out of sight. So just nothing but a bright future ahead. And I'm thrilled to be here at the right time to be a part of it.
Yeah, that I'd say that's been for me. Like we went through a big interview process with Chad. We're partners with Five9, so kind of knew where he was coming from and all that. The biggest eye-opening thing that I've had the last 3 weeks, not that you're asking me this question, but I figured I'd say it, is Chad constantly challenging
Hmm.
our total addressable market. Like we've been so zeroed in on what we think is our ICP, ideal customer profile, and where our market is, that we may have been blind to potential markets out there. And it's been great that Chad's been constantly challenging that, especially with our new products and what we can do with them and how quick we can build. There's no reason not to look at that. So that's been refreshing and great, Chad.
Well, thanks for tolerating all my challenges. I'm going to keep doing it until you tell me not to.
Well, I love everyone. I love all challenges.
Yeah, definitely. All right, awesome. Great question, Steve, to round it out. Thanks for providing your input. Um, all right, we'll wrap up then. Chad, how can listeners connect with you?
Primarily on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so I'd love to hear from you if you have ideas and things that you'd like for us to do with the product. If you're working with a contact center that you feel like Replay might be a good fit, that's heavily regulated. You need to store your recordings for an extensive period of time, or even if you're not, but you're leveraging many different recording systems, and you'd like to have an agnostic platform to store all your call recordings that you can quickly retrieve, index, and be able to do keyword searches on as to what happened, to be able to support them for auditing purposes and QA purposes and so forth. I'd love to talk a lot more with you. So please reach out. Be great.
Awesome. Yeah, Chad, you and I got to catch up with Steve on LinkedIn. We got to get more LinkedIn followers so we can beat him
Yeah,
up.
I know. He's a beast.
We're getting
All right,
close.
Steve, any last notes or questions for Chad?
No, pumped up, Chad. As you know, this is the beginning of the next chapter at Wilmac that I think is going to be the most exciting chapter. Thanks for coming on. I know we keep throwing stuff at you, and appreciate you stepping up to the plate and handling it like a pro.
I'm thrilled to be here, Steve. The welcome could not be any warmer, and I really appreciate that. So I'm ready to dig in and let's go do it.
Awesome. Well done. Thanks, Chad, for joining us on the
Thanks,
Wilmac
Chad.
Wire. Like Chad mentioned to our listeners, you can catch him on LinkedIn. Um, that's it. Easy enough.
Great. Thanks so
All
much, guys.
right.
I really enjoyed it. Have a good
All
one.
right. Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Wilmac Wire. If you like today's conversation, make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or watch full episodes on our YouTube channel. You can also learn more about Wilmac Technologies and our work in customer interaction technology at wilmactech.com. We'll be back soon with more conversations with the drivers, those shaping our industry and those building right here in Western New York. See you next time.